So I'm here to talk about, well, to begin with, I'm really bad with cooking recipes, like following directions. So I have these in hand, but I'm probably not going to follow it because it's going to be a worse experience for you. So I'm just going to set these down over here, try to put my mic back on. I love the theme, customer love. So one of the things that I had asked myself when preparing for this presentation was, how do you define customer love, right? What is that? So that brought me to voice of the customer. So voice of the customer. So you look it up, and there's a couple definitions. You can find them all over the place. Wikipedia has one. But I think the best one that I found was actually Six Sigma. Okay, so here's where I break this out. There's no way I'm memorizing a definition. So Six Sigma defines it as a process used to capture the requirements and feedback from the customer, internal or external, to provide the customers with the best-in-class service / product quality. So it's really a process about being proactive and constantly innovative to capture the changing requirements of customers over time. Okay, so if you're reading the definition, it makes sense. But it doesn't really boil down to what does it mean to you as an individual, you as a company. So really, it's voice of the customer describes the stated and unstated needs or requirements of the customer. So what that implies is you need to know who your customer is, and that you need to be able to communicate with them to hear what those needs are. Sometimes people think of data as providing that information, but that's really not all it, and people that work with data know that. And so the next thing is not just knowing your customer, communicating with them, but really connecting with them. So that ideally you're never going to you'll never lose the human element. Machine learning and everything kind of captures for scale. But ideally you're always going to want to be able to connect across a user's journey, however they're interacting with your brand, with your company, with your product, what have you. So that said, part of the thing I was asked to do was kind of give you some insight as to why I'm up here, what I've done over the course of product with G6. So I am responsible for, really way too much for what I get paid for, but I'm responsible for all of our quality platforms, so operational quality, which includes measuring at every property, brand standards, compliance, service, cleanliness, condition, right? Which is a component of a guest experience. Guest feedback, so surveys, online reviews, and guest, the CRM, so I built a guest database. Part of that is we have all these disparate systems, so we have a reservation system that captures reservations, and the unit is seen as a reservation. So if you were to make a reservation, I don't know you, don't really care about you, I just care about capturing the reservation. And then that reservation gets shipped over to the property, and they see it in a different system, and they see that as a stay. And again, they're not going to know you, they just know that you stayed. So how do you connect with customers through all these disparate systems? And I'm sure through retail it's very similar. And I think across several different industries, you could look at all the different things, all the different systems, platforms, tools everybody uses, and there's so much rich data in there. How do you connect that data without getting drowned in data to find meaningful ways to recognize, know your customer, and the opportunities to connect without being intrusive, and giving them a way to connect with you so that you can glean their feedback, their desires, and start anticipating, which makes for a better product, a better experience. And so you kind of continue to iterate, hopefully for the better, through doing so. So in looking at all of the different systems, you can put controls in place and you can start making connections, and there are some products that take a lot longer. So we have a process or a project right now called IT 2.0, so that's looking at everything that we do, and that's a multi-year, which is certainly a lot harder than going out and building a brand new app. So for a means to get personal, we scratched the mobile app that we had, because personalization matters. Well, see, there you go. So I'm really bad at these. Let me just throw these back down. if I ever invite you to dinner, I promise I won't follow a recipe. My cooking is much better when I just wing it. So personalization matters, and there's some statistics that 63% of customers think more positively for personalization of a brand, of a product, of a whatever. 59% of customers say it influences their shopping decision, the level of personalization. So it matters. So know your customer, get personal with them was really important for me, for my company. And the quickest way to do that was to take all that disparate information, build out a guest database where everything is an attribute to a unique person. So now I know I know my customer. Then I can capture all of their journeys, all of their experiences, their feedback. Ideally, we're going to get to what I call customer 360. So let's say, Sam Smith before was a reservation with a reservation number, a stay with a confirmation number. It was a survey response where it had his email and his feedback, but where did he book, when did he stay, and all of that, I had to go to different places. And that was for one. So let's think of Sam going multiple places at multiple times. I don't know, he may have stayed with us 100 times versus another Sam Smith who stayed once and never came back. And how do you communicate with those two? How do you place value on those two different types of customers? There's value in both, but it's obviously going to be different. So mobile app. So we had a loyalty-like program. It wasn't really anything except, hey, we save you time on booking. Give us all your information up front. We'll keep it for you. So when you book, we just slide that information in, but you couldn't change it. You couldn't do anything with it. So if you're booking for a friend, you were kind of screwed. So we rebuilt the loyalty program, tied it to the new mobile app, and now we're able to capture the real Sam Smith, all of his information in the back end, in the database. That Sam Smith on mobile logs in, can stay logged in as long as he wants. We pre-populate his information, but he can edit it. We're building and continuing to build out the fields, payments, payment types, and all those things. So again, continuous improvement and iteration to make it a better experience. But we have foundational information now through the mobile app because people want to log in. They want that convenience. So they're giving you the information, and then they realize that it's a great tool because it saves them time, 3 touches, and you can book a room. And all of that information is coming back together. So again, we know Sam Smith from Sam Smith. We can market to Sam Smith totally different than this Sam Smith. We can recognize and appreciate and make certain offers to this Sam Smith versus another. And eventually, when he checks in, we'll be able to recognize him. We're looking at maybe capturing faces in our system so that we can see Sam Smith. So even at the front lines at a property, when Sam Smith checks in, we recognize him and we have just snippets of information so that we can make that a more personal experience every time. Some more information about feedback. So I talked about how we had, know your customer, communicate, connect. So that's two-way. Like feedback is great, but post-sale, post-whatever, if they're unhappy, you want to know about it, but how do you address it and how do you adjust that feedback to prevent similar feedback from other customers or guests in the future? And then you have feedback from a stay, feedback on service from the reservation center, feedback from folks using the mobile app. There's all kinds of different things. So again, how do you tie all that together for some semblance of don't make yourself crazy because you're always just chasing after information? And so that kind of brought me to how do we pull all the different feedback and tag it, still make it relevant, but then you can prioritize on what you need to work at first and still hear your guests. So G6 has 1,400, 1,500 properties, 10,000 employees. We have almost 600 now members of the new loyalty program, and we don't do points, we don't do giveaways. It's basically the incentive, and it was a panel actually that was talking about it. Do you have the mobile app? Do you have a loyalty program to drive current loyal customers and to keep them? Is it a retention thing, or is it to incentivize, bring in new customers and then bring them to become loyal customers. And for us, it's both. So we have a mobile app. It's convenient. It's very utilitarian in nature, simple, which goes with our brand. But they appreciate that. Like a lot of the feedback that we get is this thing is so easy, 3 touches and I got a room. And we get negative feedback as well that we act on. But we have people that monitor. My team monitors the App Store, the online reviews. We have feedback that's channeled through the app where they can rate us, and then they give us their feedback, and we know exactly that it came in app as feedback rather than somebody going from on the web to the store, vice versa. So, and we're reaching out to them, so we can email them, we can ask them, would you like me to call you? And we pick up the phone and we have conversations, and we quite often have found where somebody's complaining about functionality of the app. This is maybe just our guest, our use base is. It's user error. Like they don't know how to use something. And I'm just monitoring time. Sorry, but a funny story is one lady, we got feedback, and she was, your app, it doesn't work. I've tried logging in. It keeps telling me to reset my password. It's not working. This thing sucks. So I, got on the phone. So are you using the mobile app or are you using a browser? Because My 6, you can log into your account through the browser on the web too. So she says, well, I don't know. Okay, are you on a computer or on a phone? So she's on a computer, great. Do you know if your operating system is Windows? Or she goes, well, it's by a window. I'm not kidding. Not kidding. Well, we have an 800 number for the reservation. Really, save yourself some time. just, we'd be happy to talk to you anytime you need a room. But feedback matters. So, and then there's some quotes on here that I thought were kind of relevant. So it's important to have a feedback loop where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. And obviously you're going to have, product managers, product owners have their own ideas, executives have their own ideas. But at the end of the day, everybody as an individual has different ideas at different times. And so how do you capture all of that and then align with it to make improvements is really, I guess, the challenge. So that was a cheat because you weren't supposed to see that. So we talked about the My6 mobile app, and so connecting with your customers, and it's really the five questions. They're really simple. Is who are your customers? And if the closer you can get to firsthand knowledge, and we purposefully didn't go out and do a lot of use case studies with our guests. That's one of those kind of intrusive things. But we have a 55-plus-year-old brand, and so we know our guests pretty well. So we were able to develop the personas and test that out and find that, hey, it's always great when you're right. What we didn't recognize was how technically challenged some of them would be, which really spoke to the goal of simplification of the mobile app. But the loyalty program, again, kind of that overlap. So people who we have an older guest segment who've been staying with us for 55 years, who they don't even have a smartphone. What's a smartphone? Do I have a stupid phone? No lie. So you make things available because technology is awesome, and for the most part, people who have stayed for 55 years aren't going to be around for 55 more years to stay. So you got to start capturing, those new guests and appealing to them and making things easy for them, without dropping, the 55-year-old loyal guests. So that was kind of that. How do we pull all this together? Because that range of guests that we have is so disparate. There's a huge gap, huge. So the 5 questions: who's your customer? How do you connect with them? So is it in advance? Is it after? Is it both? If it's both, is it separate teams? Are you pulling that back for full visibility? And that full visibility is really where, if you can land on it, it's going to give you the biggest insight. Because, pre-sale, it's kind of pushing information, and you're getting, okay, well, they like this product more than that product, or this product selling more than that product. But now that they've purchased it, now you're getting feedback on, don't like the product, but is it the same? Like the ones who asked for it, are they the ones who are telling you that they like it or hate it? So it's that key piece that, you need to try to land on. And then, personalization. So personalization enables relationship, and that's really what people are looking for the most part. We have some anonymous folks that like to stay anonymous, and that's okay too. But, when you're talking to somebody, somebody mentioned empathy on an earlier presentation, and I think, that's exactly right. People want to be recognized, which is why they give feedback. They want to be listened to. So it's, we have the LAST. Has anyone heard of LAST? Listen, apologize, solve, thank. It's really simple. But, that goes for somebody who's calling, somebody who's leaving a review, somebody who's writing a letter. It doesn't matter. They want to be heard, so you need to recognize, even if you don't agree, hey, you really need to, make this thing sing a song when I'm checking in. Okay, well, great idea. We'll have to think that one through. It's never going to happen. That doesn't make sense to me, but, if more people were to bring that up, okay. But you need to, again, it's capture the feedback, marry the information, attribute it to a person so that you can recognize that person, thank that person, and keep that relationship going, which really is required for loyalty. From my perspective. There's a lot of hotel choices. And there's so many apps that people can use, and there's so many, multi-channel ways to find a place to stay. There's Airbnb even now. That's a new kind of entrant to hospitality. So know your product, know your guest, build that relationship, listen to them, not just when it's convenient, but listen to them even when it's not convenient, and try to make those connections for that full visibility to drive a better experience for you and for your company and for your guest or your customer is really the key thing. So simple questions to ask, but you got to keep asking them because things change, people change. And so build it, keep iterating, keep making it better, and start all over again. So that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Way off script. Way off script. Okay, now, why? See that? Because we love you. Okay, that was it.
Are you freaking me out?
Yes.
Okay. Are you up? Okay. Can we give Terri another round of applause? Thank you.